How is this going? I would primarily like to thank the participants in this symposium because regardless of whether they share the same discipline, everyone dominates a specific topic within everything that is designed to the word architecture. In a way, it is beneficial because it will help us to enrich this virtual meeting. We will begin with their do presentation, the subject to the discuss, and the trajectory of the architect on which they were based. I give the word to my partner, Christopher.
Hi, my name is Christopher, and I will talk to you about postmodern architecture. It's a modern that causes a lot of controversy and beginning of its creation due to the characteristics for which it distinguishes. The characteristics of postmodernism allow its purpose to be expressed in various ways. And these characteristics include the use of sculptural forms, ornaments, and performance and materials that carry on through. And these characteristics are meaning and pluralism, double coding, flying brutures, and high ceilings, irony, and paradox, and contextualism.
Can you mention the example of a postmodern architect?
Yes, one of the most famous architects in the world who used part of this model is the architect Arata Isozaki, and his project was characterized by the combination of Japanese tradition with modern structures made with advanced technology, and he began to replace traditional elements with postmodern elements that is shapes, such as bulbs, spheres, and other geometry elements.
What do you highlight about the architect Arata Isozaki and the postmodern style?
The architect Arata Isozaki received the Pritzker Prize in the 2019 for his trajectory and use of Oriental elements with Western elements, and he incorporates visual effects in his building so that he image or him varies according to the angle of observation. It also uses metabolic tendencies, giving shape to the H project with more nature and using new technologies, and also carry out projects in combination with the environment, sustainable, and using the aesthetic form of nature.
I give the word to my partner, Francisco.
Um, my name is Francisco Hernandez, and I will talk to you about social architecture. This is a very controversial concept as many college do not consider it is architecture. However, in my view, it is a matter of vital importance as a strong fact in Mexico, 65% of the houses are informal. That is, no architect is required for their construction. We are talking about more than half of the houses at the national level, and it is not an exclusive case of Mexico. It is also present throughout Latin America, and present there are public policies and agencies that manage the production of social housing in Mexico. To mention some agencies are Infonavit or ISTE. These institutions are accompanied by consortia like GEO, ARA, or SADASI, among many others, and in a way they have responsive to social need, but they fail to meet today's needs. For its large part, this consortium have only dedicated themselves to the densifying conurbate areas or the city with repetitive housing units and without urban planning. Strategies that consequently lack needs such as mobility, public service such as hospital, health, education, and recreation areas. They Thus they manage to propagate the uncontrolled urban growth, giving cause for the destruction of the environment. It is a note to pay attention to the mobility that there's demand whereabouts like green Indios, planted land for waste. They observe how the emergence trams arise in each of the whereabouts without valuing the urban impact, visualizing how the house's high feel allowed the above mentioned, it however affects the proper local inhabitants and never helps the urban spot every day grows more.
Do you consider that any particular architect has tried to solve this problem?
One of the architects that I personally respect a lot is Alejandro Aravena. Among his recognition, he was the winner of the Pritzker Prize 2016, and I must accept that there is some empathy only for the fact that he is now to be a Latin American architect, because it was only because of the tale of Began Chile that he not only managed to understand the social problem that he intended to attack because in Mexico City. I survey this current context. Alejandro takes into account the great problems of social housing, themes they are often set aside by not consider them as a priority. In several of his interviews, he mentioned that some formalization should be given to them the wheels that are in the conurbate area, since it is clear that the urban spot will continue to grow and those areas will sooner or later be part of the city, calling for collaborated work for rather than being prepared with a planning city with a panorama that favors adequate social development, which in opposition tends to be negative with a city that grows empirical and that policies for the territorial order are hardly applicable.
Do you think architects currently have the opportunity to establish social change?
He considered that architects have the technical capacity to design quality sites and housing, but social change does not depend solely on architect, that is, it will have to be accompanied by appropriate public strategies or policies for effective development and active cooperation on the part of society.
I give the word to my partner, Pedro.
My name is Pedro Sanchez. I will talk to about introspect architecture. It is the architecture that turn and load it is same and leaving the destruction of the design world, where the regional chips bear the design and the of design existed, but I can forget. It is the architecture that skin to create a space where intimate is the ultimate wealth, where the essential elements are the line, vegetation, and the space continuum that spend to the house. They must be an indoor environment. I bet keen in habiting absorb of the what happened on the side. Only when you same relationship with natural element.
Can you mention the example of a character was exercise introspective architecture?
And the architect Abraham Cota Paredes, his grad practiced or the inspector architect in Mexico. In 2014, he entered the University Center of the Art, Architecture and Design course on the University of Guadalajara. In 2012, he obtained his master's degree in architecture design from the High Technical School of Architecture of Navarra, Pamplona, Spain.
Can you tell me a little about any of these works?
The first house he designed on the This land was the Orlean house. Is very particular home because they most sign and destruction and the condominiums. Where is the locate? His idea identified in the sign space for the on the sign to on the wall. He got a mind relation of director Spain in design of sign with manage privacy for living and dreaming areas together to maximize and feel expression of the house.
I give the word to my partner Alejandra.
My name is Alejandra Sapien, and I will tell you about sustainable architecture. It's architecture that seeks to minimize the negative environmental impact of buildings by efficiency and moderation in the use of materials, energy, developments, space, and ecosystem at large. Sustainable architecture uses a conscious approach to energy and ecological conservation in the design of the built environment.
What's the main objective of sustainable architecture?
The idea of sustainable or ecological design is to ensure that our use of presently available resource doesn't end up having detrimental effects to our collective well-being or making impossible to obtain resources for other applications in the long run. Energy efficiency over the entire life cycle of a building is the most important goal of sustainable architecture. Architects use many different passive and active techniques to reduce the energy needs of buildings and increase their ability to capture or generate their own energy.
Can you mention any architect who expensive the sustainable topic in this professionally trajectory?
Of course, Kenyan Green architect celebrate Malaysian architect Kenyan famous for bioclimatic skyscrapers and sustainable design, mostly in Southeast Asian projects. Kim Jong had said that his aim is to produce or design and maintain ecosystems like structures, design of the buildings, and the systems with integrate benignly a natural environment, but in their relation to global biosphere process. He had built the buildings with a form and systems function with sensibility to the locality's ecologic and contribute possibility to biodiversity.
The attention is appreciated and our part will be everything.